The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's Accudart webinar. My name is Nima Dhingra, and I am the Marketing Coordinator at BAS. So today's webinar is an introduction to our inventory management series this month, and we're really going to be focusing on real-time inventory accuracy and how it can really improve your business operations. So our speaker for the hour is Justin Pearl. He is a resale channel manager at Accudart, and he will be giving you a brief overview of just inventory data and real-time efficiencies and really just how you can overall improve your operations in your business. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Justin.
Great, thank you. So what I'm going to do is go through a quick PowerPoint presentation, talk to you a little bit about our company, about barcodes, radio frequency. Then I'll go through and explain how the setup works, and then I'll actually show you Accudart and how it updates Sage 300. And I guess if you do have any questions, we can save them to the end, or you can type them into the chat, and we can go over them as we go through it. So Executive Concepts, our company's been around for 25 years, since 1988, and we have a lot of experience in distribution, manufacturing, barcoding, and custom software, and we are in Toronto. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about barcodes, what they are, why to use them, where to use them, and how to use them. And I'm pretty sure you're probably pretty familiar with barcodes already. I'm just going to go through it really briefly to make sure we're on the same page. So basically what barcodes are, just a series of bars that represent characters or words, and they can be easily read by scanners. And they're found everywhere. Most common place is probably on retail products, and they can be used for inventory control. Why to use barcodes? A big reason is for accuracy. With a barcode, there's no room for interpretation. So when you scan a barcode, it can't be misrepresented or read as something else. So it eliminates a lot of human error. You're not going to mistake letters or numbers. You're not going to mistake a 1 for an L, a 0 for an O, or anything like that. Speed is another big reason. Doesn't matter how fast you can write or type. Scanning a barcode is always going to be significantly faster, so it diminishes a lot of manual effort. And cost. Barcodes are very inexpensive to create, maintain, and to use, and it's really easy to put barcodes on any items or products. Where to use barcodes? You can use them on retail products, like I said. You can use them for serial numbers, lot numbers. You can put them on purchase orders, sales orders, employee ID cards, bin numbers, things like that. And how to use barcodes? They can be used for shipping, receiving, physical counts, wireless transfers, those sorts of transactions. And I'll go through some explanation of radio frequency. So what it is, why it's used, when to use it, and where to use it. So basically what it is just technology that allows for communication between a scanner and a PC in real time. And a big reason why it's used, again, is for accuracy. With radio frequency, you'll get real-time access and validation. So it'll be able to tell you whether or not the item is on the order or not. A barcode can tell you what the item is, but again, radio frequency will validate and make sure what you're shipping is going to the right customer. Another big reason is for efficiency. It can be used anywhere in the building, and it cuts down the flow of paper. Typical shipping example, somebody in the office will print the picking slip, give it to someone in the back of the warehouse, and they'll go around and write down what they picked, 2 of these, 6 of these, 4 of these, 3 of these. And if they do have lot numbers or serial numbers, they'll have to write down the lots or serials as well. And even if it's just a 4 or 5-digit serial number or lot number, it can be a pain to have to write down and keep track of. And when they're done, they hand it into the office, and they can either enter it then or later on. And as they're going through that order, if they get to a lot or a serial number or even an item that doesn't exist or they can't read, or for some reason it's expired, the odds of them going to the back of the warehouse to unpack a skid or a truck to find the right item, lot, or serial number is pretty unlikely. With Accudart, all you need to do is print the picking slip, scan the items. We validate to make sure the items are on the order, that they're not over shipping, the lot or serial number exists, there's enough quantity, it's not expired, things like that. And when you post, we'll update Sage 300 as if you'd done it manually, and I'll get into a little bit more detail about that as we go through the actual demo part. And it's also, you can put information where it's needed, and it's easy to implement, and you only have to enter data once. When to use radio frequency, we say when accuracy, efficiency, and timeliness is important, and when you want to reduce costs. Where to use radio frequency? Pretty much anywhere in the building where data access is needed. And there's two approaches that we use. So one is 900 megahertz, using hardware from a company in California called Worth Data. And how that works is you'll have your Sage server with your various users using it the same way they are now. You just need one more PC connected to Sage 300 with a base station attached, which is basically a little black box that looks like this. And that base station plugs into the COM port of a PC and covers up to about 300,000 square feet, depending on the layout, the racking, things like that. And that's how the scanners communicate and update with Sage 300. And if you did have a second location or a second warehouse, you would just need one more PC connected to Sage 300, either through Citrix or Terminal Services, with a base station attached. And that way, the other location can update and communicate with Sage 300 in real time as well. The other approach uses Windows Mobile scanners, so anything running Windows Mobile 5 to 6.5. So that's any of the Motorola, Intermex scanners, anything like that. And how that works, again, you have your Sage server with your various users. You just need one more PC connected to Sage 300, which we call the Accudart server. And that's where we install the web server and IIS. And then basically, as long as your scanners have Wi-Fi access, either through a router or through a data plan, they can update and communicate with Sage 300 in real time as well. And so Accudart installs another module inside of Sage 300. And unlike some of the other WMS systems, there's not a lot that needs to be set up because Accudart will work the same way that Sage 300 is set to work. All you do need to set up is the different warehouse locations. And you can track the log level at each one. You can track nothing. You can track when someone logs in or logs out. Or you can track up to everything, all the menu functions and prompts and questions that are asked and answered. You'll set up the different users. So each user gets their own user ID number, username, password. You'll say what warehouse they work in. And there's also a few different language options. Right now we're working English, French, Spanish, and we just finished our simplified Chinese translation. And this is also where you'll set the security, so who can do what in the warehouse. So for example, if you don't want someone to ship, you can just double click, and now that person can't ship a sales order. And the last thing you'll set up is the internal barcode table. So this is where you match the barcode on the item to the actual Sage 300 item number and the unit of measure. So the same item can have multiple barcodes. It can also have multiple units of measure as well. And we either recognize the barcode in this table, the actual Sage 300 item number, if the barcode is the same, or the manufacturer's item number, if you use that table in IC. It'll recognize any one of the three. And that's really it as far as the setup goes. So what I'm going to show you now is our desktop version. So what you see here is exactly what you'd see on the scanner. Same number of lines, characters, everything like that. So as soon as someone turns on the scanner, the first thing it's going to do is ask them to log in. So if they enter or scan the wrong ID number, it'll say login not found. If they enter the right ID number, it'll say what warehouse they work in and ask them for a password. Again, if they enter or scan the wrong password, it's going to say invalid password. Once they enter the right password, a list of all the different functions they have access to will come up, and they can scroll up and down using arrows same as on a keyboard. Most people in the warehouse might typically only have access to 3 or 4 different modules, depending on the role. I have access to everything, obviously, to show. So I'll go through some of the basic functionality and show you how it updates and communicates with Sage 300. So the first thing I'll show you is PO receipts. So they had 2 for PO receipts. The first question is going to be asked for quantity, yes or no. If you say yes, it's like being in a grocery store. The cashier will scan an item and say how many you have. If you say no, each time you scan an item, it'll count it as 1. So I'll just hit enter for yes. And now you can enter or scan the PO number. So if you enter or scan something that doesn't exist or that's been fully received, it'll say so. Once you enter the right PO number, the vendor comes up to verify to make sure it's correct or not, yes or no. And then from there, you would just scan the item, enter the quantity. You can scan the next item, quantity. If you scan something that doesn't exist, it'll say the item's not found. If you scan something that does exist, but is not on the PO, it'll warn the user so they can find out why they're receiving stuff they haven't actually ordered. If you do scan a serialized or lot tracked item, it will ask you for the serial number or lot number. So again, if it's lot tracked, it's going to ask you for the lot number. And then they can enter or scan the expiry date and the quantity. So it's basically item quantity. When they're done, they can enter on a blank item, and now they can post, review, add, or cancel. If they go to review, it'll show them what they've received so far and how many. If they realize they forgot something, they can go back and they can add more. Or when they're done, they hit P for post, and now it's going to update everything in Sage 300 as if they'd done it manually, update the inventory levels, the log quantities, the serial numbers, and it'll actually give them the receipt number. And there's also an option to automatically print or display the receiving slip after receiving and the packing slip or invoice after shipping. So it gives them the receipt number. So if we go back into Sage 300, if we go to transactions, if we go to the receipt, if we go to the last one, this is what we just received right now. And if you do have optional fields, it'll say who received it, the date, and the time. So if you want to, you can go back and see who received what when. But all the information's in Sage 300, the same as before, except instead of writing down a piece of paper to hand to the office, it's all being done from the back of the warehouse on the scanners. And it's all being updated in real time. So that is receiving. So the next thing I'll show you is shipping. So it works very similar to receiving, but I'll go through it anyways. So they hit 1 for ship sales order. Again, the first question is asked for quantity, yes or no. Then again, if they enter or scan a sales order number that doesn't exist or it's been fully shipped, it will say so. Once they enter the right sales order number, the customer comes up to verify to make sure that it's correct or not, yes or no. So I'll just enter for yes. And now again, they would just scan the item, enter the quantity, scan the next item, quantity. Again, if enter or scan something that doesn't exist or that's not on the actual sales order, it'll warn the user. So it does validate to make sure they are shipping the right items to the right customers. And again, if they do scan or enter a serialized item, it will ask you for the serial number, and it will validate to make sure the serial number exists and is available. If they do scan a lot tracked item, it will ask you for the lot number. And again, if you enter a lot number that doesn't exist or it's expired, it will warn them. So it does validate to make sure the lot number is valid. And again, when you're done, you can just hit enter on a blank item. And now you can post, review, add, or cancel. Again, if you go to review, it'll show you what you've shipped so far out of how many. If you did forget something, again, you can go back and you can add more, or when you're done, you hit P for post. And again, now it's going to update everything in Sage 300 as if you've done it manually, update the inventory levels, log quantities, everything like that. And it'll either create the shipment and or invoice, depending how Sage 300 is set. So for me, it's set just to create the shipment. So if I go back into Sage 300, if I go to transactions and go to the shipment, if I go to the last one, this is what I just shipped right now. And again, if you have optional fields, it'll say who shipped it, the date, and the time. So you can see who shipped what when. But again, all the information's in Sage 300, the same as before, except it's being done from the scanners instead of having to write it down and have someone manually enter the information in later on. So some of the other transactions we also have warehouse transfers. So we have a one-step transfer as well as a two-step transfer. So the two-step transfer, they'll have to transfer the items to a goods in transit location, and then the second warehouse will actually have to receive them in. Or the one-step transfer will do it all in one step. So I'll quickly show you the one-step transfer. So 33 for warehouse transfers. Again, ask for quantity, yes or no. So you hit enter to create a new transfer. You would enter or scan what location the items are going to. And then basically you would just scan the item, enter the quantity. Do you want to update, yes, no. You can scan the next item, quantity, update, yes, no. So it's basically item quantity, item quantity. When you're done, if you would enter on a blank item, again, you can add, post, save, or review. Review shows you what you've transferred so far. And now you can post or save. So when I post, it'll now transfer those items from location 1 to location 2 and give me the transfer number. And again, if you go back into Sage 300, if you go to transactions, transfers, go to the last one. Again, this is what we just transferred right now. And again, if you have optional fields, it'll say who transferred it, the date, and the time, so you can see who transferred what when. So again, all the information's in Sage 300, the same as before, except you don't need to actually write it down and hand it into the office. It's all being updated immediately. Some of the other transactions we also work with Orchid bin tracking. So we have bin transfers. They can pick, put away, pick by sales order. There's different inquiries. So item location inquiry. If you scan an item number, it will tell you how many you have in each location. So also item PO inquiry, item sales order inquiry. You scan an item number to tell you what sales order or purchase orders those items are on. PO, SO inquiry, you scan a PO or SO to tell you what's still outstanding on that particular order. Item lot inquiry. Physical counts. So the next thing I'll show you is physical counts. And how that works is first you need to create the worksheet. So in Sage 300, you can only have one person actually entering in the counts. So we created our own tables so that you could have multiple people go around the warehouse and actually scan and count items. So what you need to do is generate the worksheet. So we have our own worksheet that you generate. So I'll do one for the first warehouse for the first few items. So you generate the worksheet. So once that's been created, you can now go on to the scanners and actually count the items. So you hit 61 for physical count. Again, ask for quantity, yes or no. If you want to, you can enter or scan what part of the warehouse you're counting, or you can leave it blank. And then basically you just scan the item, enter how many you have. You can scan the next item, enter how many you have. So it's basically item quantity, item quantity. Again, if it is lot tracked or serialized, it is going to ask you for the lot number or serial number. So it's item quantity, item quantity. When you're done, you would enter on a blank item. And now you can save, review, add, or cancel. Review again will show you what's been counted and the quantities. Again, if you forgot something, you can go back and you can add more. Or when you're done, you hit S for save. And now all that information will get saved into our worksheet maintenance table. So it'll say what user actually counted the items. It'll tell you what's supposed to be on hand compared to what was actually counted. So you can go through, and everyone that counts anything, the numbers will get added up and stored into here. And then when you're done, you would just post the worksheet, which does the adjustment and updates the inventory. And I'm not going to actually post anything just because my numbers are obviously way off. But now with Accudart, instead of everyone writing it down on a piece of paper for one person to add up, you can have multiple scanners go around and actually scan and count items. You can have 2, 3, 4, 10 scanners actually doing the physical count, which will save you, I guess, lots of time and energy. Some of the other transactions we have, I see shipment, I see receipt, I see assemble, I see adjustment, material usage, internal usage. Pretty much any transaction that has to do with inventory, we probably have a module for or can create one because, like I said, we use fully integrated with Sage 300, and we use the SDKs to post. And we also integrate with Orchid bin tracking and AutoSimply. So I've gone through and pretty much shown you some of the basic functionality and how it updates Sage 300. So I left some time at the end, I guess, for any questions that anyone might have, or if they want to see any of the other transactions, we can go through them as well. So I'm not sure if anyone actually has any questions about anything they've seen so far, or if there's anything else they would like to see. I guess there's been no questions so far. So I've pretty much showed everything I was going to show, again, unless there's anything else anybody wants to see, or if there's any other questions, but I guess I'll stick around. Looks like there is one question. So I guess the question is, what about doing an adjustment from a negative inventory report? I assume you're talking about doing an IC adjustment. So IC adjustment, again, after quantity yes or no, you can enter in the description and the reference, and then basically you would just scan the item, and then if you enter a positive quantity, it'll increase the inventory. If you enter a negative quantity, it'll decrease the inventory. So if I do -2, it'll now decrease the inventory by 2. And when you go to post, it'll just create the adjustment in Sage 300, give me the adjustment number. So again, if I go to IC, go to adjustments, where's adjustments? There it is. If I go to the last one, this is the actual adjustment that we just did, which decreases the inventory by a quantity of 2. hope that answers your question. Are there any other questions? So we can just use, well, what we do is we don't ask the user for the cost, because generally they don't know the cost or shouldn't know the cost. So we will just use the default cost in Sage 300. So the question is, what about the cost associated with an adjustment that might need the cost adjusted? So like I said, we use the default cost in Sage 300. All right. So it looks like that's all the questions for now. As I said before, I've showed you everything I was going to and showed you how it updates Sage 300. From the few transactions I did, I think you all should have a pretty good idea of how simple and easy it is to use and how we update Sage 300. It'll pretty much update Sage 300 the exact same way as if you had done the transactions in Sage 300 themselves.
Great, Justin. I think that's all for the questions. So if anybody else has any other questions, feel free to definitely contact us. We have your information from when you registered, so if there is anything else we could help you with, please do let us know, and a recording of this webinar will be up on our website shortly. Thank you so much. Thank you, Justin.
No problem. Thanks for your time, everybody.